All right. Whew, that was not the start to this series that anybody wanted for a variety of reasons. Not only the result, but the way it transpired. You're okay losing games. It's the playoffs. You're going to lose games. You're going to lose games against good teams, especially. Um, Even games like Game 2 against Cleveland. You you deal with it. You accept it. You're like, okay, didn't have it tonight. The matchups, the adjustments, this, that, and the other thing. All that's fine. You don't want to be the team that was out poised, that shrunk on the big stage, and you don't want to be the team that came off as, I don't want to say rattled. Rattled is too strong a word. I don't know if I would say the Knicks were rattled today, but because they did a lot of really good things and they really did execute very, very well for at least one half of basketball and in parts of the second half. And I thought defensively, actually, they executed really, really well for the most part today. But there were some glaring areas that the Knicks simply allowed. And look, give credit to the Heat. I didn't know how to approach the series because I approached the last series saying I have a lot of respect for Cleveland, and then that came back to make me look silly. And a lot of people who were like, "You overestimated Cleveland." I'm like, "Well, I guess you're right." And I came into this series and I had a lot of respect for Miami, and not only Jimmy Butler, and not only Eric Spoelstra, but just kind of what they do and how they approach things, and how, most of all, and this is what I think we saw today more than anything, how are they a great team? No. But they constantly bat above or hit above their batting average because they take you out of your game. That is what Miami does. That is what Miami does better than any other team in basketball. They take you out of your game. They make you uncomfortable in ways that you don't want to be made uncomfortable. And that is what they did today. And I'm hesitant to draw too many sweeping conclusions. Well, the only conclusion I'm not hesitant to draw is that this is now going to be a very, very difficult series to win. Because again, you watch enough NBA basketball and you kind of like, you see when a team gets the game you feel like they needed to get. Like, all the signs were there for this one. Jimmy Butler down with the ankle, 5 minutes to go. It's right there for the Knicks for the taking. I think it was a 6-point game at that point, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least after the free throws, maybe it was a 5-point game, 6-point game, whatever. It was well within reach with 5 minutes to go, and Jimmy Butler on one leg, essentially, from what you could tell. And then the Miami Heat figured out a way to win that game and win it specifically. They didn't even have to score. They didn't have to score another point the rest of the way. I mean, the Knicks scored some points in garbage time, but like, as for all intents and purposes, they did not need to score to win that game. They needed to defend, and honestly, that's even too strong of a term, because they needed to just take the Knicks out of what the Knicks wanted to do, or take the Knicks out of their comfort zone, and they did it. And that's one thing I'm sure of. The two things I'm not sure of: one, the Randle impact. So Mitchell Robinson in this game did not have anywhere close to the sort of impact that we have seen him have for much of the year. I know he had 14 rebounds. I know he had 5 offensive rebounds. This was not the type of Mitch that we've seen. And I think part of the reason this was not the type of Mitch that we've seen is because they were able to stick Bam Adebayo on Mitchell Robinson in this game, because they did not have to stick Bam Adebayo on Obi Toppin, because it's Obi Toppin. It's not Julius Randle. So as a result of that, the Knicks adjusted their offense, to their credit, and they're like, okay, we're going to give you, if you're not going to stick a good defender on Obi Toppin, we're going to let Obi do what Obi's comfortable doing, and we're going to let him fire away from 3. Obi Toppin took more 3-point shots than anyone in this game, with the exception of Gabe Vincent. Took 11 threes. He made 4. That's okay. That's I mean, they're open looks. That's about the minimum. I mean, 3 for 11 would be bad. 4 for 11 is like the bare minimum, considering how open those looks were. You would have liked, 5 for 11, all of a sudden, it's good shooting performance. So it's like, you exist on the margins in the playoffs. But that took Bam off of Julius. And it took Bam off of Julius, and it allowed Bam to stay with Mitch. So when Julius comes back in the game, or when Julius comes back in the series, God willing, soon, how does that impact what the Knicks are able to do? Julius also a beast on the boards. And in this game, I think the Knicks ended up out rebounding the Heat 48-39. But they did not exert their will in the way that they have. And the offensive rebounding margin, the Knicks got 12 and the Heat got 10. That's not what we're accustomed to seeing from the Knicks. And I haven't even mentioned all the stuff that Julius Randle does on offense. And for as much as there is a segment of the fan base that likes to kill Julius Randle because the ball doesn't move as crisply and all this other stuff when he's not in there, Julius Randle is good for one thing. It's good for getting tough buckets. I know he didn't do it a lot in the Cleveland series, but he's done it in the past. And he was getting going at the end of the Cleveland series. So I have a feeling that was coming. We'll see if it still comes in this series. So that is one thing. No Julius Randle, and Bam could focus in on Mitch, as my daughter was not happy with the Knicks loss today. That's the second thing. The third thing, obviously, is the threes. So part of why I am, and I also, I don't know if this is just in the Substack chat. I've noticed a lot of people talking up. I mean, was the refereeing great in this game? I don't know. Wasn't great. Are the refs why the Knicks lost this game? My own 2 cents. No, I guarantee you, there's gonna be a lot of people who push back against that. When I think back on this game, I'm not gonna be like, that goddamn game the refs stole from us. No, that's not how I'm gonna think about this game. So back to the threes, and here's where ultimately I am as far as like having difficulty reconciling with this loss. It was very, very, very clear. My daughter's clearly not happy with the fact that they missed a lot of threes too. I'm having trouble reconciling with the fact that the Knicks obviously could not buy a three this entire game. They finished the game. I think they ended up did they hit some in garbage time? Not really. They ended up 7 of 34 from three. And it felt like it was worse than that for most of the game. Brunson took 7 3-point field goals, made 0. Josh Hart, who always seems to come through with a big 3 or 2, took 4, made 0. RJ, we'll get to him in a bit, took 5, made 1. Quickly, 1 of 4. Grimes, 1 of 3. We'll get back to Grimes, too, because he only played 10 minutes in a game in which it seems like the Knicks were desperate for 3-point shooting. And we said Obi 4 for 11. They were getting what they wanted on offense. Like, Jimmy Butler on Jalen Brunson to start the game. Okay, fine. RJ Barrett, go to work. RJ Barrett went to work. It was certainly the best quarter of his career in a week in which he's had several best quarters of his career, one after another after another. And so that's what they were doing early on. And then they finally switched RJ Barrett, they switched Jimmy Butler onto RJ Barrett, and then Jalen Brunson got cooking, and he finally got going in the second quarter. And New York's offense scored 55 points in the first half, which is signed for every day of the week, and appropriately enough, twice on Sunday. And then when they started loading up to try to make sure that neither of those guys beat them, or during the times that they did that, or during the times where it was the obvious play to make, it would be kickouts for threes. And they were good looks from threes. And none of those three-pointers went down, as we saw. Time and time again. They were good looks. Nobody was hitting shit. So eventually, especially in the third quarter, which is where Miami took over the game, and yes, the Kevin Love outlet passes to Jimmy Butler helped in that effort, and I get that, and that was a big deal. But the Knicks stopped being comfortable taking threes, and they kept trying to force it in, and were there instances of opportunities where the Knicks could have tried to generate good offense inside the arc through passing, even though everybody in the building knew they didn't want to shoot threes, like, yeah, it's possible. It's also really hard because the spacing is cramped, which gets us back to Grimes. And potentially Grimes, was he not able to play more because he's just coming off this injury? I don't know. That's there are a few different ways to bring this back to Tibbs, because there always is a way to bring it back to the coach. The Grimes thing is one of them. And then obviously what is going to be the biggest talking point in certainly the national media now moving forward over the next couple of days, why not go at Jimmy Butler late? Look, I thought the looks that the Knicks got on offense late were pretty good. They didn't execute, and that's why I would have really loved for, and the ball was in RJ's hands a few of those times, didn't come through. It happens. I don't want that to detract from the fact that RJ Barrett had a brilliant, let me emphasize that again, a brilliant game, did everything that was asked of him near flawlessly, had a couple missteps down the stretch. It happens. It is what it is. Like, should they have gone at Butler more? Absolutely. And I'll be very curious to see what Tibbs' answer is after the game when somebody asks him about that. Do I think if they had gone at Jimmy Butler more in those instances that, like, Miami was just going to be like, throw up their hands and be like, all right, no, I don't. And that's why I'm like not going crazy about that, but it's a big thing. And it is part of the larger storyline of the game, which is starting in the third quarter. The Heat are the team that had all the poise, and the Knicks are the team that had very little of the poise. And again, that became a Miami Heat basketball game in the third quarter. It just did. It really frustrating game, and it is what Miami does to you. Again, I want to keep the fact that they missed a billion threes and the fact that those were good looks. I want to respect that. I want to honor that as a real thing, which is why I don't want to give too much credit to the Miami Heat. Although, if Miami's game plan was like, hey, you know what we're going to do today in terms of like trying to just take our chances and see where the chips land? We're going to go ahead and we're going to let the team that shot 30% from three in the last series, or 29% from three in the last series, we're going to let that team shoot as many three-pointers as they want, and we're going to see what happens. And guess what? You can't blame them for that. That's called a good game plan. Just like I'm sure Cavs fans in the last series were ripping their hair out about this, that, and the other thing, and yada, yada, yada. At the end of the day, the Knicks were like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to let the people who don't want to shoot threes, don't shoot threes particularly well, shoot all the threes that they want. And we're going to shut down the other four guys. It's as simple as that. This game, simple as like, hey, shoot the threes if you want them. We don't think you can make enough of them. And they didn't. So credit to Miami for having that game plan. It stinks that New York still can't make, decent looks from three. And that's not really how their roster is built. They got around it for most of the year. They could not get around it today. You would have liked them, even with the fact that they could not hit threes, show some more poise down the stretch of that game, because that game, I'm not going to go so far as to say the game was there for the taking, but like, obviously there was an opportunity to win that game. I think the lead was 3 at some point. I want to say, was it under 5 minutes or around 5 minutes? Like, there was an opportunity to take the game, and give the Heat credit. I know nobody wants me to hear me give Miami any credit, but like, and this is where the poise thing comes in. Did Miami play a perfect game? No, they didn't play a perfect game. They didn't make every shot. They didn't shoot three great from three themselves. I don't know what the actual percentage was. It wasn't great. But they made enough, and they shot them confidently, and there were no moments in that game where you looked at what the Heat were doing and you were like, man, the Heat are really rattled, or man, the Knicks really have the Heat out of their game, or anything like that. Like, the Heat continue to do exactly what the Heat want to do. And that is why I think Eric Spoelstra has the best reputation of any coach in the league, because his team constantly goes out there. They do what they want to do. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And today it worked well enough because the Knicks didn't do enough of what they wanted to do and they didn't execute. we'll talk about some specific players, I guess, throughout the super chats and what have you. I thought, like, I other than RJ, who was brilliant for almost the entirety of this game, I don't think anybody played really well. I mean, Brunson had a stretch where he got it going there in the first half. He ended up shooting 11 of 23, which really deserves an asterisk because he was 11 of 16 on 2-point shots, which is like you live with that every time. And I'm fairly certain he missed a bunch early. He also had 7 assists. He also had 5 turnovers, which is about as many as you'll ever see Jalen Brunson commit. And the Knicks as a team committed 13 turnovers, 4 from RJ. That's the other little chink in his armor today. 9 turnovers from the guys that are your primary ball handlers really throughout the game because that's the way the game went. But yeah, I don't, quickly, you would have liked to see him come through with a bigger game. His impact has been oddly muted on the offensive end in a really significant way. He took 9 shots. He made 3, 1 of 4 from deep. He just looked a little off. And then there's, there was some talk about Robinson. I thought that was as much about what the Heat were doing to try to take him away as it was anything Robinson wasn't doing, but I would like to go back and rewatch that, but I'll defer to anybody's opinion on that. Okay. That's all I got. Maybe Andrew wants to hop up here to do the injury report and moment of the game. I had some stuff for moment of the game written down, although I don't know how we're going to do moment of the game in this one. You want to do injury report?
Sure.
So we'll see what happens with Jimmy Butler. Something tells me he's going to be fine for game 2. Although with 3 days off, couldn't you just see Miami sit in for game 2?
Saying that they stalled the game they needed to, and now you give them a couple days off.
I maybe these are famous last words. I wouldn't be shocked if the Knicks came into game 2 and won by a lot. And again, because Miami is so sound in every aspect of their organization, just like have supreme confidence that it's not going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying they're going to punt the game, but look at what happened in game 2 against Milwaukee after they stole game 1.
About to say it's literally the Milwaukee series formula.
Yeah. And like they're comfortable. Like Miami thrives in discomfort. That's where they live. That's where they want to exist. So that wouldn't surprise me, but we'll see. And then the big story, I think, is Randle. Like the Knicks need to get Julius Randle back. There's just, I don't know. There's no two ways about it. We'll see. Mitch landed awkwardly. Is he hurt? Grimes, is he still working his way back from injury? I don't think there's anything else to mention. That's really it. Play of the game, moment of the game.
So, first of all, 2 things.
Yeah.
I agree with like 99% of what you said just now.
Okay. What's the disagreement? You're being kind. I guarantee you there's a big thing that counts for a lot more than 1%.
Well, it's just the idea that like the Knicks could have stole this one. I actually thought, looking in the beginning of I get what you're saying in that when Jimmy went down, prime opportunity to steal a game that you let slip away.
Yeah.
I think if you're looking at it from the Heat perspective, when you were down early, when they didn't have Randle, John, you have to win the game Julius Randle doesn't play if you're the Heat, or you don't have a chance in the series. You have to win that game. So if you lose that game, the series is different. So I actually leave this game not confident because Julius needs to play, and that's why this is part of injury report more than anything else. But like I left this game being like they won the game they should have won if they're going to win multiple games in the series. Like you have to win the game Julius doesn't play.
I think that's fair. The reason New York came out and executed to perfection in the first quarter. And really for most of the first half. I mean, again, and this is why they didn't lose their poise into the second half. So if you give the Knicks another 3 3-point field goals in the first half, they shot 17% in the first
They were
half,
3
right?
of 16 in the first half.
3 of 16.
Yeah.
So what were they? League average or their average is roughly around 35%. So
35%.
you figure they're going to make 3 more of those, right? And there were a couple, by the way, there were a couple other instances in the first half even where they had some turnovers that were really particularly messy that felt like they directly took points off the board. So even if you give them 2 more threes and 2 more turnovers or 2 less turnovers and they convert those into field goals, that's another 10 points right there. All of a sudden, it's not a 5-point lead at halftime. It's a 15-point lead at halftime. Or what was it, 5, 6, whatever. It's a much bigger lead at halftime. You feel like they could withstand that. I think given how well the Knicks played across the board, with the exception of the shooting and those couple of turnovers in the first half, the Heat, when they got it down at the end of the first half, felt like, all right, we got it. We survived that. We got a shot. I understand logically what you're saying makes sense, but as far as tenor of the game, flow of the game, sometimes shit just doesn't make sense. Sometimes, look at last year with the Grizzlies. They don't have Ja Morant. And they beat the freaking eventual world champions by 50 points. Bucks, no Giannis, win that game by 1 billion points. Like, sometimes that shit happens, and it's not like the Knicks haven't shown the ability to be very successful this year without Julius Randle. This isn't Jalen Brunson going down. It's Julius Randle going down. For as much as they need Julius, that is a significant difference. And that is where their depth comes in too.
Yeah. I think this is, to your point about their poise, which is a good word to use, because I thought there was a rough whistle today, but I thought one team handled it better than the other, which is why I'm upset the Knicks lost. I thought, look, not to make it a larger debate about Julius versus Obi, I thought Obi did fine in his role today. I just think this really showed what having that second guy when you need a bucket, when the Heat are packing the paint, just like that's the value that Julius Randle brings. I don't know. I sat there in the first half being like, if they could win this game without Julius, then this might actually be a quick series. But in the second half, a simple adjustment of, we're going to make this really bad 3-point shooting team or inefficient 3-point shooting team shoot threes. And we're going to pack that screenshot I put up of Brunson driving, and Doris Burke hit on it, and 5 Heat players are in the paint. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's why the strategy and the process of take a bunch of threes isn't a bad one. They just have to hit threes. I actually don't think the Knicks played like down the stretch. I'm upset, which is why for moment of the game, I have 5, and it's that entire stretch with 5:05 left when it was 97-94. Butler had just gotten hurt. And can I just read you the sequence real quick?
Yeah, so you have all Heat things for moment of the game.
Because that's the play of the game, the turning point of the game, if you want to go to.
Yeah, of course.
It's a Mitchell Robinson rebound that Kyle Lowry pokes. And that's why you have to mention Kyle Lowry's name, because he
was great.
He's the reason why the Heat won this game, in my opinion.
He was great.
Then a Gabe Vincent 3 that he was trying to get contact. He hit it. It was an awkward shot. He hit it. Then Kyle Lowry forces a jump ball on Jalen Brunson. Heat don't score. Caleb Martin gets a block on Jalen.
On RJ.
On RJ Barrett. Next trip down the floor, RJ with an offensive foul that was forced on a screen. Then another RJ turnover forced by Kyle Lowry. Then another RJ turnover, which is a strip by Kyle Lowry. Like, that's the sequence. Like, if you want to go to poise and just a veteran taking over a game. But yeah, I leave this game more being like, okay, this is where the value of Julius Randle appears. This is also where, if the Knicks don't shoot, I'd be curious to go back and look through their playoff history. Have they ever shot this poorly in a playoff game from 3?
I mean, probably a long time ago. I mean, in the modern era, though,
that's what I'm saying. Like, in a game, they took more than 10 threes or more than 20 threes. You know, it's why when I saw the chatter on Twitter being like, why they just chucking up threes, and it's like, do you see what the Heat are doing? This is what they're giving them. It's why I was more like, I'd love if they just start making some of these. If they go 10 of 34 from 3 today, that's not a good shooting day, but they win the game.
But you saw what happened when they tried to force it inside the arc. That didn't go necessarily well either in the fourth quarter. Like, the Heat were doing a really good job. And by the way, another name we haven't mentioned yet, who maybe he didn't come up with a lot of stats today, but he's commonly thought of as, if not the best defensive player in the league, one of the 2 or 3 best, and that's Bam Adebayo. He changes everything you do down there. You have to shy away from him. You have to honor him when he's around, when he's anywhere near you. And the fact that he exists down there is a massive freaking deal. And even if his biggest thing was for the most part, taking away Mitchell Robinson on the offensive boards, like his presence in the series is just so massive. Look, I hope you're right. I'm glad you're feeling good after this game.
Listen, hold on. Don't get me wrong. I'm not feeling great after this game. This is a game. If the Heat were going to make this a series, they had to win this game. Now it flips to the Knicks side. If they want this to be a series in their favor, they have to win game 2. Like now your thought of this is going 7 now has credence is more my thought. Anyone thought that this was Knicks in 4 or 5? I said 6 because I thought their depth would win out. And they honestly had a chance to win today without their all-star, all-NBA player. So that's my thought, at least.
Yeah, and again, you had the conversation with Giancarlo about depth and like, did the Knicks have the 6 of the best 8 players in the series? Like, it didn't look like it today. Like, it just didn't.
It didn't. A lot of it had to do with the fact that like 1 of 16 from 3 from RJ, Brunson, and Hart.
Look, I will those guys shoot better? Yes, I think those guys will shoot better. I think the Knicks as a team will shoot better. I think they'll learn from this. I don't think even the fact that like we saw them have a disturbingly low amount of poise down in the second half of this game, do I think that they will get rattled? Do I think that they will, their confidence will be shaken as far as moving forward in the series? No, I don't think any of those things. I do think that it is significant that they lost the first game at home. There's a lot of excitement coming into this game, even without Julius Randle. I think there was a feeling like the Knicks could take care of business here, and they didn't. And now you move forward and you see what happens, but that's really all there is to it.
Yep. You ready to dive in?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
So we start where we always do. Before the game.
How are these going to age?
So I actually think Robert does capture the flow of the game a bit. So we started an hour before tip-off. Robert Cross.
We'll get through these as quick as we usually do. Robert Cross, it's your boy John. Tears welled to my eyes with the news that Patrick would be in the building today. New York yesterday, today, and forever. Hashtag 53 wins. Yeah, it's nice that Patrick was there, although I'll just echo what Josh Hart said. Not that obviously they all know who Patrick Ewing is, but like none of these guys give a shit about the 90s. Like we care because we're old and we remember it. They don't care.
Which is why Robert was commenting that he liked it in this moment,
Robert Cross, first time, long time, John. Doesn't Stephen A. Smith know the circus is no more? Need permanent residency in the clown nursing home. Hashtag 53 wins. I don't know why anybody cares what Stephen A. Smith does or says. He's not relevant.
Well, I don't know if I think he's
his basketball analysis is not relevant. He is no more. I've compared him to Mickey Mouse in the past because he's no more relevant than Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse is a prominent figure in our country. If you're a grown adult, you shouldn't pay attention to what Mickey Mouse does, just like you shouldn't pay attention to what Stephen A. Smith does or says.
Okay. Next up.
There's no more analysis needed.
I don't pay attention to him either. Robert did. Good Lord, John. You're on one today.
Stephen A. The fact that anybody pays attention to him is still keep scrolling. If you see his face, just keep scrolling. Mm-hmm. Put the TV on mute until the game starts. That's all you have to do. Robert Cross, it's your boy John. RJ Barrett will be the best player in the series. Hashtag 53 wins. The funny thing is, on balance, I mean, I think Jimmy was the best player today, but RJ was the best player for the Knicks. That's for sure. If he's the best player in the series, the Knicks are still winning the series. Vincent Russo, RJ. Thanks, KFS. Oh, thank you, Vincent. I'm assuming that was probably early on. James Beard, of the James Beard Award, perhaps?
This is mostly first quarter stuff, by the way.
Okay. Long-time listener, first-time caller from Perth, Australia. What's going on, man? 1:30 a.m. local time right now, halfway through the first. Let's go Knicks. Yeah, first quarter was a lot of fun, especially after the Heat got off to a quick start. They fought back from that.
Those Gabe Vincent buckets in the beginning of the game, I thought like, oh, so this is going to be a Gabe Vincent game. And which like he did have like go 5 of 12 from 3, so I can't say he didn't have an impact, but I thought maybe we're going that way,
Even that though, I thought was significant because like Cavs come into the Garden, games 3 and 4, you could tell right away like those guys didn't want no parts of this. Mm-hmm. The fact that Gabe Vincent comes in and it's like, nope, no problem. 5 quick points. I'm good. Like, again, they're not going to make all their threes. But the notion that that team with that pedigree, after what they've been through over the years, is going to be rattled in any way, shape, or form, they're never rattled. That's why they're the team that more often than not always, more often than not, consistently outkicks their coverage. Robert Cross, it's your boy John. Miami can't shoot. Miami can't defend. Miami's garbage. I don't know if that aged well. Eastern Conference Finals, dark horse is real. Hashtag 53 wins. Sorry, your team lost to garbage, Robert. Robert Cross, first time, long time, John. Kevin Danishevsky and my X Factor. Introducing Quentin Grimes, hashtag 53. So Grimes made that first three, and I was feeling great about that. And then he only took a couple more threes because he only played 10 minutes.
1 of 3 today.
1 of 3. And that is like if there's ever a guy that you want to get going from 3 and feel like if he puts up enough shots, he's going to get going, it's Grimes, which is why, I thought last series was going to be a Quentin Grimes series. We'll see if maybe this is still a Quentin Grimes series. Just certainly wasn't a Quentin Grimes game.
What did you think of going with Hart at the start instead of Grimes? Do you think it's a health issue, or does he just like the Josh Hart?
I think he wants Josh Hart on Jimmy Butler, and I don't blame him for that one bit. I thought the Knicks defense, by and large, was very good today, and I thought Hart's defense on Butler, I was fine with it.
Yeah, that's why I gotta be honest, I'm not upset with the process. It's the fourth quarter execution after Jimmy got hurt and the 3-point shooting. Like, I'll settle for the Heat getting 108 points.
This is the Heat. Like, today it was this. Mm-hmm. And then after the next game that they win, it'll be like, man, today it was this stupid thing that's so annoying. And if we could just fix this. And then the next game, and then all of a sudden you're looking up and it's a Jimmy Butler 3-point shot away from making the finals. Like, that's what this freaking team does. You know,
well, and I'm aware. I'm just saying in the context of this game.
I understand that.
Yeah. I thought the Knicks lost because they couldn't buy a bucket from deep.
Yes.
With a lot of good looks, you know. The Heat did game plan for that, and credit to them for saying beat us from 3, but I'm mad the Knicks didn't beat them from 3.
I understand the Knicks missed threes today to an extent that went beyond how they missed threes in Cleveland. I understand that fully. But they did not hit threes in any of those Cleveland games, and they figured out a way to win 4 of those. And that is because they had the poise, and the Cavs didn't. They had the toughness. The Cavs didn't. They had the game plan. The Cavs didn't, all across the board. Today, they didn't hit their threes. This was not the Cavs they were playing today. It was a different team. It was a better team. That's my only point that I'm trying to make here.
I got you.
James Beard, need to change my Google profile picture. I promise I'm a diehard Knicks fan. I have been since 2010. Rowan MF Barrett, by the way. I love the Barrett excitement. I love the game Barrett had today. Again, with all due respect to his ending, which was not great, how do you not come out of this loving what you saw from RJ Barrett? I just hope he keeps it up. Robert Cross, it's your boy John. To the front of the rack, to the front of the rack, to the front of the rack. Repeat after me, to the front of the rack. I don't know.
So this is sent in the third quarter when they were taking a ton of threes, and it's like, get back to go 1 on 5, you know?
Got it.
So,
well, listen.
And then this is the beginning of a theme.
Okay. Robert Cross, officiating has been total garbage in the second half. Hashtag 53 wins. I didn't think the refereeing was great. I thought it was not the deciding factor in the game for me. Others will obviously disagree. Manny, I might have to pay Tony Brothers a visit this offseason, show him about fixing games. Yeah, Brothers is no fun. What were the final free throw totals? I mean, we shot 20. They shot 29. Yeah. Robert Cross, IQ has been terrible, absolutely terrible. Hashtag 53 wins. He has not been himself on the offensive end. Although, no, he hasn't been himself on the offensive end. I mean, there was a floater that he passed up in the first half. I was astounded he passed it up, and he kicked it out to, I think it was Obi for 3, and Obi missed the 3. I don't remember the last time I saw quickly pass up a floater like that. That was strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These next, I believe we're getting to the point where these are after the game.
Oh, okay.
So want me to jump down?
Once they get to after the game, you can jump down. I think
okay.
I'll be all right. Thank you, Robert. Guy Hooper, then. I'm sorry, but you can't let Kyle Lowry outplay you in 2023 if you're Jalen Brunson. Everyone was bad, but he's our guy. Was not it today. All right. Here's one thing we're not going to do. We're not going to bash Jalen Brunson. The guy who this entire Knicks season is because of. guy who turned around their team in every way, shape, and form, and the guy who was, again, 11 to 16 from inside the arc today. Jalen Brunson was doing everything he wanted to against the Miami Heat in every way, shape, and form. And when he had to kick it out, he kicked it out. And you know that because he still managed to get 7 assists, even though nobody on his team could hit a blessed shot from outside. If people could hit shots from outside, he would have ended up with a hell of a lot more assists than that. He still ended up with 25 points, which is, again, him and RJ were the leading scorers of the game. The turnovers, not ideal. I get that. He needs to be better in that department. You can't have your starting point guard go 0-7 from 3. Totally get that. Completely agree. It is exponentially, and that's not a strong enough word, exponentially easier to be Kyle Lowry, who has the luxury of coming in and playing. I mean, it doesn't even matter how many minutes he played. He probably played about 25, 30 minutes, played 30 minutes. And being someone who gets to benefit from the attention that all of your other teammates are getting, to come in and then like kind of bide your time, and it's the fourth quarter. Okay, I'm going to hit some shots. It is exponentially easier to do that than be the guy that the other defense focuses on possession after possession after possession after possession after possession all the way through the game. It is comparing apples to rocks. It is not comparable. Did Kyle Lowry do better in his role than Jalen Brunson did in his role? Absolutely. 100%. But to come in and be like Kyle Lowry outplayed Jalen Brunson as if we are comparing Donovan Mitchell to Jalen Brunson in the last series, two guys who are on equal footing, that's not fair. And that's what I'm taking issue here with. Mythic Monty, they can't win the series without Julius. I completely disagree, or I completely agree. I will never understand how the Heat get away from flopping in illegal screens contact so consistently, because they're really good at it, and they probably practice the shit out of it. Like, the Heat are an organization that they capitalize on every humanly possible advantage, and I think they have smart basketball players. I think they know what they're doing. It's annoying. It's frustrating to play them, but like, it's not like this happens all the time with them. This is just what happens with them. It is what it is. Winning in the margins. Roger Fortune, we're not going to miss as many threes. I wanted to win this one for Randle to rest, but he's back for game 2. We are collectively better than this team. Also, effing Tony brothers. We never win with him. Hashtag Knicks in 6. Game 2 is obviously a must win. I hope Randle's back. I think he will be, but it's a short turnaround, Although, actually, it's a later start, so it's like 54 hours as opposed to 48 hours, so that's good. See if that helps. Ryan Huang, what's going on, Ryan? Can't win shooting 20% from 3. I agree. Lost so much momentum, missing shots, and it took everything out of rhythm. Totally agree. It's just demoralizing, I think, as a team when you feel like, but again, specifically demoralizing when you play a team like this that knows how to take advantage of the fact, like, that they know, like, the Heat knew they were missing open threes, and they knew what the Knicks were going to try to do as a result of that, Anyway, embarrassing that Jimmy could stay in unpunished. Okay, I think embarrassing is a little bit strong of a word. I'm curious what the process was there down the stretch. But I'll re-up what I said before. If you think them attacking Jimmy down the stretch was going to definitely win them this game, but you would have liked to see it. You would have liked to see them do it or try it more, and they were not trying it. Hush Zoo, it's going to be a long series. I agree. So I thought Knicks in 7. Obi played as well as he could, but this team desperately needs Randle, and his presence also got to throw this one away. I think the silver lining, your hope at least, if you're a Knicks fan, is that they collectively have the confidence that they're not going to shoot 20% from 3 anymore in another game. But then again, that might be wishful thinking given how they've shot it in these playoffs. And two, they learn from their lack of poise. And like, that's not an X's and O's adjustment. I mean, going at Jimmy, I guess you'd call it an X's and O's adjustment. But like, the Cleveland series was about adjusting the X's and O's. This is about adjusting maybe more above the neck. And I don't know, like, is that possible? Can they do that? Do they have that in them? I mean, they have been the most resilient basketball team I've ever watched in my life, this Knicks team. They have gotten punched in the gut again and again and again and again. And every time you think that they are dead in the water, they come up like freaking Lazarus. So they're not quite at that point. They're only down 1-0 in the series. But in terms of learning from the fact that they got rattled a little bit in this game, they're going to need to rise, so to speak. Rise again. Thanks, Hush. Haitian Ferg, what's going on, Haitian? I already know I'm going to probably agree with a lot of what this is going to say. Put some respect on Julius Randle's name. Amen to that. His absence was glaring. Obi did his best, but he's not Randle. He didn't get out-coached, got outplayed. This ain't Cleveland. Nope. It is not. And that is not JB Bickerstaff on the opposing sideline. Got to make shots. Miami will live with Obi 4 for 11. Oh, they'll sign. Man, give them the page with the dotted line on it, please. They will not be able to sign on that dotted line fast enough for 4 for 11. Because if Obi's that means Obi Toppin is taking 11 shots from 3 in your game, which are shots that RJ Barrett isn't taking at the rim and shots Jalen Brunson isn't taking at the rim. And in a game where you're only getting about 85 to 90 shots, and that's all that these games are going to amount to. If you're the Heat and you're like, well, hold on, you're telling me that Obi Toppin is going to take like 13% or 12% of their shots, and they're going to be from 3, and he's going to make 4 of them? They'll sign up for that every time. And that's what the Knicks are going to have to do, because that's what he, at this point in his career, feels comfortable doing. Yeah. Well said, Haitian. Hajzu. Also, foul calls pretty unbalanced. Yep. I agree. Don't think that's why they lost. Wasn't a great whistle. Dan Hidalgo. What's going on, Dan? How are you? And thanks one more time for what you shared after the last post game. That was really special, in case I didn't tell you in the moment. We became very one-dimensional without Julius. They just clogged the paint and dared Obi to beat them with threes. Julius Randle will be back, and we will shoot better. They can't. Well, one, they can't shoot much worse. I do think Obi or Randle being back will help. That said, it has to be, if not the best version of Julius Randle, like a good version of Julius Randle. Hopefully he's up to the task. I think he will be. And yeah, I mean, they absolutely clogged the paint and dared New York's shooters to beat them. And like, I think Obi was a big part of their game plan, because they were going at Obi, putting Obi in pick and roll coverage early, big time. And then on the other end, they were like, Obi Toppin's going to beat us. Obi Toppin's going to beat us. And he didn't. And that's the thing, right? Is it's like, not all 4 for 11s from 3 are created equal. These are good looks. These are open looks. It's what the defense is giving you. It's like, if Isaac Okoro hit 4 for 11 from 3 in a game against the Knicks last series, the Knicks would have signed for that every time. Again, because it's 11 shots that Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland wasn't taking. And those were all open looks. And they were all open looks. And how many did he made? He made 4. Well, same thing here. Same thing here. I'm not, and again, this isn't to bash Obi. He did what was asked of him, and this is about where he is as a player right now. Thanks, Dan. And by the way, shout out to my Rusty Cigar. I'm enjoying some Rusty Cigar red wine. courtesy of my friends at One Bev. It's definitely helping this one go down a little bit smoother. I'll say that. Manny, refs need to learn this can't happen. I'm really going to do it. Got some quotes from Jalen Brunson here. Today, I was horrific. I got to be better. I appreciate that he says that. I don't think he was horrific. And he also said it was uncharacteristic. This one is on me. I mean, that's what your leader is supposed to do. Yeah. That's one thing your leader is supposed to do. Deadwords 604. Tibbs resorting to old ways, not adjusting, unlike Spo today. Okay, how did Tibbs not adjust? Because of not going at Jimmy Butler late, or is there something else? Or I guess maybe not playing Quentin Grimes more. Also, the horrible three-point shooting continues, so Miami clogged the lane and was daring us to hit something from outside. Yeah. Hope Julius Randle is back for game 2. You got to do more than that, Edwards. You can't throw the coach under the bus and then not be specific about it. It's a party foul, especially after everybody agreed that he just wiped the floor with the opposing coach in the last series. Sam Garcia, awful performance this afternoon. I don't know about that. Again, like, we have to start respecting the other team here. It's the same issue I think a lot of people had with the Cleveland series, the last series after it ended. And everybody was like, oh, Cleveland fumbled this series away because they're young and this and the other thing. No, like, the Knicks were the better team. The Knicks took it to them. Do the Knicks do it in the most traditional of ways? No. That's why people are loath to give the Knicks credit. Well, guess what? Now the shoe's on the other foot. Nobody wants to give the Heat credit because they don't do it in the traditional ways. And you're like, what? This team shouldn't be the team that beats us. Well, they could do some things. Rich McLeod outscored 14-7 after the Butler injury. No excuse. Yep. Completely lost your poise as a Knicks team there. Totally agree. Robert Cross need to punish Jimmy on Tuesday night, and I mean punish him. 1, if he plays. 2, if he does play, good luck with that strategy. Not a prayer that ankle is right. Beat him up. #53 wins. The funny thing about the Terminator, Robert, is it's not until he's literally in the molten lava or whatever the hell that was from the refining factory that he's gone. And they still kept making more movies after that, so it wasn't really gone. That dude, the notion that you want to go at Jimmy Butler 2.5 days from now, I mean, test it, but something tells me that will not be the Knicks game plan going into game 2. Attack Jimmy, Greg Moran, I'm not concerned yet. Let's freaking go KFS. I am slightly more concerned than I was going into the series, but I was concerned going into the series, so I said it. The only thing I wanted was just play well, execute your game plan. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. And that's why I'm very frustrated today, is because they got taken out of their game in part because they could not buy a freaking basket, which is frustrating in its own right. Yeah. Thanks, Greg. Deadwood's another one. Call it a hot take, but you have to wonder if IQ just isn't built for the playoffs. That is a scalding hot take. Playing solid defense, but doesn't know what to do with the basketball. I mean, he had some not great moments today, but did you watch the Boston game? Or the game against the same Miami Heat team that quickly was the best player on the floor down the stretch when they essentially sealed the division, at the end of March? Those may not have been playoff games, but do you want to talk about playoff atmosphere? Of all the guys on the Knicks, he is the guy that I think I probably had, him and Brunson, the guy I had most confidence in coming in. It hasn't been great for him. I understand that. He hasn't played well. Nobody's going to argue that he's played well. But, to say that he isn't built for the playoffs, that's one of those, that's hyperbole to the nth degree. Juanon, what's going on, Juanon? We need Randle. Yes, I agree. We need physicality in the paint on offense. That can't be schemed for. Spo made adjustments, packed the paint, and made a shoot. Going to be a race to 100 points each game, and we won't get there like that. Well, you got to hit the shots. And sure enough, Tom Piccolo had a tweet about how the Knicks consistently let Miami off the hook in terms of not really going at their weaker defenders. And that is something that is absolutely a valid point. And I think that's something that, like, whether that goes on Tibbs, whether that goes on Brunson, whether that goes on like any of the other ball handlers, like Miami puts weaker defenders on the floor. This is a team that does have really good defensive DNA, but they do not have good defenders. And for you to go out there and only score 101 points against them after you put up 55 in the first half, that's not okay. And again, it's like, yes, the missed threes are the missed threes, which is like the cloud hovering over this entire freaking conversation. But no, you did not make Miami pay nearly enough for having guys like Kevin Love and Duncan Robinson, and Max Strus on the floor. Those are really the three guys, because like I think Gabe can defend a little bit. And like even RJ did go after him early on. So give RJ credit for that. Thanks, Juna. Ant C with Julius, it'll be different next game. I'm not worried. Kudos if all you people who say you're not worried actually mean it, God bless you. I wish I was you right now. I do. I'm envious. Genuinely envious. Spider-Man NYK, obviously not concerned yet, but that was rough. It was rough, and I am concerned. Thanks, Spider-Man. Stevens Guillaume, got him to guard threes. 7 for 34 is not going to cut it. No, it's not. And by the way, like Julius, I mean, his best game of the season. He came out and hit 5 of 7 from 3 against this Miami team, and completely altered how they had to defend him. Completely altered how they needed to defend the Knicks. Like that was an incredible game, and it was built on the foundation of Julius Randle coming out and just nailing 3 after 3 after 3 after 3. And that really does bend a defense if you got somebody out there who's like really hitting shots. And you saw the fact that like that's the thing about Duncan Robinson, why you have to take advantage of Duncan Robinson and Kevin Love, especially when they're on the floor, and Max Strus too. The only reason these guys are out there is because they hit threes. They're not doing anything else. So if you're not taking advantage of them, that's a win for Miami. But, it's hard to do, I think, when you have a team that is disciplined about not conceding the switch. Like, that's the thing about the Knicks Cavs series is like they broke the Cavs by a certain point, to the point where the Cavs were just conceding. This team ain't going to break. You're going to have to earn it. Duran visual variant. What's going on, Duran? Outcoached in the second half. Simple as that. I don't know if it's as simple as that. Even I saw the adjustments Spo made in the second half, and Tibbs didn't counter. Coaching and execution will be the difference. Again, you got to be specific here, guys. What adjustments did you want Tibbs to make? What did you want him to do? Can't make the shots for him. You hope your players have poise. I'm anybody feel free. Let me know what you wanted to see specifically. And I'm happy to comment on it. Other than the going out at Jimmy late thing, which we already talked about. Harris Kasserman, what's going on, Harris? Love and Lowry earned about 15 points purely off of savvy. Yep. Completely agree. Our quality of three-point looks seem a lot better than theirs, but we cannot hit anything. That's correct. May need to insert Fournier low-key. I am not willing to even remotely engage in the Evan Fournier discussion until I see Quentin Grimes play a hell of a lot more than 10 minutes. because one of those guys can play defense, one of those guys can't. Thanks, Harris. Richard, what's going on, Richard? Can we win without Randle? We can. In my opinion, no. Can we win with Randle? 50-50 at best. No one had a really good game, and several of our guys were flat out mediocre. I agree with all of that, except for the fact that I do think they can win without Randle, except for them to win without Randle, they got to make shots. You can't win without Randle if you don't make threes. That I think. That I agree with. Dom Cappuccini. I was very disappointed with Jalen and RJ today. Okay. They need to do a much better job on Vincent and Lowry. Figure it out on Tuesday. I'm assuming you mean defensively. I mean, I thought I didn't see glaring defensive breakdowns. I mean, Jalen Brunson has his limitations. I thought RJ defended well. I could be wrong. Maybe if I go back and rewatch, I could be wrong. I thought RJ played an outstanding game. I thought Jalen offensively was just so, and yet again, you look at the numbers and you're like, you do have to give him some credit. I think he was just so, you know. But defensively, I thought they were. Here's the thing: defensively, the Knicks played well enough to win. Offensively, they did not. Frank Miranda, what's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. I have a feeling the Heat are going to expose our lack of shooting this whole series. I mean, they're going to try. I don't know if it's going to work the whole time, but they're going to try. To quote Fat Joe, yesterday's price is not today's price regarding RJ's value. Yeah, no, RJ's keeps increasing his value. This is Brunson after the game on what separated Miami from the Knicks today. There were key moments in the game where you need to finish strong and be strong, and that starts with me today. I was horrific, uncharacteristic. This one's on me. We got to get better. Yeah, finishing strong. I agree with that. Nolan Eritano. Not about the refs. We're shooting from deep, and the least amount of Randle we can get all series. Need him back game 2, and we'll be fine. Hashtag Eastern Conference Finals. I got to tell you, there was a time in the first half where I was watching them just like, you know, when they kept maintaining that like 10-point-ish advantage. And I was like, man, if they could just figure out a way to win this freaking game, Eastern Conference Finals will really be in reach. And that's a wild thought to me. I still haven't wrapped my mind around that, which is part of why I'm like dubious after this game. But it's a long series. Long series. A lot of series to go, I should say. 007 Angelo, this effing team, time to regroup. Be ready for game 2. Yep. They didn't play well. They have to play better. Will Oliver, we need to get Grimes more involved. Yes, I completely agree. If that's another thing you want to knock Tibbs for, I'm totally okay with it. I think it's tough in terms of with making sure you have enough rebounding out there. I was talking with Benji before the game about why we thought that Hart and Obi were in the starting lineup as opposed to Grimes. I think Benji theorized about that you need the rebounding, but clearly they need shooting too. So it's like Randle not being out there makes you, it's some tougher decisions. We'll see how much more Grimes plays. I hope he does. The dynamic of the bench with Grimes' Hart swap was noticeably off. Tibbs got out coached. Let's come out swinging game 2. Again, I'm not going to disagree that Tibbs got out coached. Supposed the best coach in the game. And their game plan was flawless. I just again, the Knicks hit 20% of their threes and they were a ton of good looks. And then they completely lost their poise down the stretch. So for the third time, I will again. What's the Bernie Sanders thing? I am again asking for you to be specific about the ways in which Tom Thibodeau got out coached. I'm not disagreeing that he got out coached, to be clear. But Alex, I just hope Mitch, Ihart, and Randle are as healthy as they can be the next game. Also, Josh Hart doesn't have to play 43 minutes. Give RJ Grimes some run on Jimmy. Clean up the transition game. The transition game was not great on either side, offense or defense. I don't know. I don't mind matching Hart's minutes with Jimmy. It certainly doesn't seem to tire Hart out. Now, you want to tell me the reason he missed 4 threes today is because he was so dog tired from running around chasing Jimmy at the other end? Well, that's maybe possible. I don't know. I mean, it's a fair point. You know, they lost the game, so everything's fair. But yeah, it's fair. Richard with another one. Our inability to shoot threes at even a minimal level of success is absolutely glaring. Unless that changes, this could be a nightmare. I wish I disagreed, Richard. They have to hit threes. If that's what Miami gives them, they have to hit them. And if the guys that are out there are not hitting them, then you've got to, again, the one guy you got to play more of is Grimes, you'd figure. We'll see if they do. Thanks, Richard. Appreciate you, man. Justin, please make threes and need to attack Jimmy Butler on a bad ankle more. Yes. Yes. Agree. Kareem Edwards. I'm low on Grimes. He's always in a rush. Would have been nice to give those 10 minutes to Fournier. My goodness gracious. Kareem, come on, man. Quentin Grimes had an outstanding year. Improved by leaps and bounds from last season. Shot the hell out of the ball all year long. Defended his butt off all year long. And you're willing to sell him down the river for Evan Fournier? Come on. Let him be our Duncan Robinson, but better. He ain't Duncan Robinson. He's not that level of shooter. You know, and I understand Duncan didn't have a good year shooting the basketball this year, but come on. This is like, it's one game. Can we cool it with the Evan Fournier? It's my one request. Anthony 6, though. Brunson starting cold. No Randle. Poor 3-point shooting and phantom foul free throws deflecting our second half runs. Feels a lot like Cavs game 2. A lot of anomalies we know we will correct. I'm still confident. Okay. I hope so. Look, the numbers when you lose game 1 and when you lose game 1 at home, they're not great. No Randle, and the shooting was what it was. So you hope those two things rebound, and that's where you win the series. You hope. Alex with another one. I blame Aaron Rodgers' presence for this loss. He's bad luck. I agree with that. He's a Jet, so of course he's bad luck. Enjoying 8-9 season and missing the playoffs, Andrew. Oh, sorry.
Why did I just catch a stray? Are we on the same team? Also, Alex, Aaron Rodgers at the Rangers game last night, and the Rangers won. So, that does away with that theory.
I see the Rangers going to a game 7. Go Rangers, right?
Yes, go hockey.
Go hockey. I only know that because there's literally an advertisement on the Warriors-Kings game right now. Equals Peace. What's going on, Equals Peace? Obi 18 and 8, 7 of 15 on field goals, 4 of 11 on threes, no turnovers, and he's on the bench at the end. Criminal. You're gonna. You might be lonely on the bandwagon with that take. You got everything's in context. Everything's in context. Where did the points come from? Where did the shots come from? How open were those looks? And what was he doing on the other end of the floor? I understand the Knicks didn't defend well when he was off the court at the end, but the notion that Obi Toppin was the missing piece in this game, yeah, I don't know about that. Trying my best. What happened to IQ and overall our 3-point percentage? I mean, they've been a bad shooting team all year. As far as quickly, he's playing badly. I'm not willing to go ahead and be like, he's a bad playoff player, but he's played poorly. He's played poorly. And they played poorly today as a team. Anik Ahmed, IQ going from third option to, oh my God, I can't even say this out loud. Ntilikina is worrying. Listen, Frank, you could have given him $1 billion a year lifetime contract. He wasn't taking 8 shots in this game. Quickly, his confidence will not be shaken, will not waver. And that is among 1,000 differences between him and Frank Ntilikina, that's probably the biggest one. Emmanuel quickly has an undying belief in himself. Busy. Oh, wait, sorry, real quick. Keep Busy's chat up here. This is from Jeff Stotts in Street Clothes in regards to Jimmy Butler's ankle. A lot of specifics surrounding his latest injury still need to be determined, but Butler does have a long history of right ankle sprains. He's been able to return without missing time on at least 6 different occasions and never missed more than 3 consecutive games. Butler suffered a right ankle sprain in December of the season and returned after 1 missed game, which was 5 days. He will likely be at an elevated risk for re-aggravation or re-injury when he does return. Which is why, again, I would not be shocked if he was not in game 2. Surprised? Yes. Shocked? No. Busy. Adjustments. 1, 4 flat. 4 flat for whoever Jimmy is guarding for the last 5 minutes is what should have happened. But Tibbs did Tibbs stuff, got cute with the offense. Yeah, that's fair. Yes, he got cute with the offense, and he was trying to out zig or out zag or whatever the case may be, and it didn't work. Would it have worked if they had attacked Jimmy? Maybe. Ben Kim Gurry, what's going on, Ben? I couldn't get your name right. I apologize. Miami is the sand in your suit, the ant at your picnic. Yep. Irritants that only ruin your day if you let them. Hit shots, don't foul, increase pace, #win in 6. Yes to hit shots, yes to not fouling, although Miami is just the best in the league at drawing fouls. And increasing pace, I agree with, although, and yeah, the Knicks, the Heat lull you into playing slower, and the Knicks got lulled. Equals pace with another one. And for Christ's sake, can you at least test Jimmy after the injury? Yeah, we talked about this. It's fair. Not one pick and roll or ISO against him. I don't know how that gets overlooked, ignored. No, we're not overlooking it. We're not ignoring it. It is what it is. It was a component of the game. It was absolutely a component of the game. I'm not sure if that was like if they relentlessly attacked Jimmy in the last 5 games. Do they win that game? Maybe they do. We won't know. And Tibbs is going to have to own that and live with it, and that's on him. Yeah. Duran visual variant with another one. 100% agree with GMAC's analysis earlier. They're keeping us off the board, so I believe whoever hits their threes will win the series. Yeah. DJ Zula just had a tweet saying essentially the exact same thing. They're not going to let us win the series. Like, again, everybody, Spo is smart. He knows how the Knicks win games. He knows how they want to play games. They're not going to let us do it that way. Make or miss league. Yeah. Absolutely. Got to make your shots. Dom Cappuccini have yet to drop to top 31% from 3 in the playoffs. Yes. Worst 3-point shooting team in the playoffs. Worst effective field goal percentage team in the playoffs. Maybe Randle's return helps that. I don't know. Are you confident that they could reach 35% the rest of the way? I think that's the X factor. I think they'll shoot better from 3. Again, they can't shoot much worse. How much better do they shoot? I mean, God, there were so many freaking moments. I wrote, I did my note taking as I have been doing through the entire playoffs. And at one point at the end of the third quarter, I just wrote in all caps, so many chances. And I think it was maybe the possession where actually, no, that was early on in the third. Where they got 2 offensive rebounds on the same possession, and they ended up getting no points out of it. It may have been Mitch at the line, and it ended up a Mitch at the line, or maybe it ended up a turnover or something. It's just, yeah, they had so many chances to hit a big 3 to shift momentum, and like they hit a couple of big 3s. Obi hit one of them. I should note, Obi hit a big 3. Like, so, that has added value, but just got to hit more shots. Helmer Pacheco, what's going on, Helmer? The Heat patience with the extra pass is elite, 1,000%, and that is, again, part of their DNA. They just don't take bad shots. If there is an extra pass to be made, they make the extra pass. That is a weak spot in New York's offense as far as the extra passing. Kudos to the Heat. Bad job by the Knicks. The Knicks were not able to make the adjustments in the second half. What needs to change for game 2? I mean, a lot of people have talked about it. You know, the Knicks are going to try to win the game. Like at this point in the season, you got to win games the way that you're accustomed to trying to win games. I think making threes goes a long way. I mean, the big curiosity I have is with Randle in, if Bam is on Randle, then how does that impact Mitch? Is Mitch able to clean up on the boards more? I don't know. I'm sure Spo's already thought of something for that. I don't know what. Maintain your poise. Like, I think if I was to give you another thing other than like they got to shoot better, they have to pass more and they do have to pass better. You know, Miami, you could beat any team with the pass. And you have to pass against this team because they're not going to lay down and die and just give you the matchup that you want. They're not going to do that. Cleveland did that. And I think that's one of those things where it's like, yeah, the percentages on those shots like matters and like the efficiency matters, but just when you know you've broken another team's will, which is what we kept saying about the Cavs last series, and it was more in the sense of like Mitchell Robinson, the offensive rebounds and the whole thing. I think the bigger way that the Knicks broke the Cavs' will is the Knicks knew and the Cavs knew that the Knicks could get the shots that they wanted, possession after possession after possession. In this series, that is not going to happen. The Heat are not going to let the Knicks get the shots that they want. Now, they may bend over backwards to prevent the Knicks from getting the shots that they want to take. And when they bend from in the way that they usually do it. And then it is up to you, the Knicks, when they bend over backwards to take away the things that you want to do, to then adjust. And because if they're bending over backwards, that means something else is open there. You know, and again, as I say that, I look at the 3-point shooting and I'm like, how much of the answer is just, you know, hit shots? Jesse M., what's going on, Jesse? Knicks wasted like 5 straight possessions early in the fourth trying to draw spite fouls. Yeah, it was not a great. I mean, yeah, absolutely. That was the game right there. Can't let the refs be the reason you lose. That's more where I'm at, Jesse. Don't let the refs get in your heads. Yeah, there was one early on where they actually ended up with the OB3 out of it, where Jalen Brunson he thought he got fouled, and yeah, and then yeah. Anyway, we don't have to go over it again. But yes, you're right. Dom with another one. Thank you, Dom. The Heat have been molded by the playoffs since their finals run. I would argue. When was that Jimmy's first year? Yeah, that was probably that was Jimmy's first year. Worthy challenge for the young and up-and-coming team. I don't like saying this, but win or lose, this will be a big teaching moment for the team's future. Yeah, and like, look, it's too early to go zoom out and get big picture. You're one of the 8 teams left in the league right now. You're playing the 8th seed. On the other side of the bracket, the likely MVP of the league is probably going to miss some games. And the team that might benefit from that is a team that you beat 3 out of 4 games this season. And you want to talk about shakiness, has had their own issues in terms of shakiness. Like, it is too early to sit back and be like, well, even if they get smoked in this series because they get, out poised or out this or out that. Like, no, go out, win the freaking series, go up against whoever emerges from that other series and try to beat them. Like, you have an opportunity in front of you. As Jeremy was saying on the pod, these opportunities do not come around often. You are guaranteed nothing in this league. So it is too early to have that conversation. That said, this is their first real run, I think. I mean, all due respect to 2 years ago, that was such a weird season. I think this is this should be the beginning of something more. And yes, of course you should learn from it, win or lose. So I think that's a good point, Dom. Kyle, what's going on, Kyle? Kyle Turner. The lack of three-point shooting is starting to concern me, as it should. It's now been, 4 games of this? It's the whole playoffs, so 6 games. Also, Spo's fingerprints were all over that second half of the Heat. Tough loss. Got to adjust. Miami plays to their strengths. It's a good job by them. Alex, I still have faith in this team. Hashtag relax. Appropriate for Aaron Rodgers being in the house. And then Alex with another one. It's not just faith. I've seen enough to justify this belief. They'll need Jimmy to play 40-plus minutes a game to beat us. F. Pat Riley. Well, F. Pat Riley, yes. But will they need Jimmy to play? I mean, again, I don't put anything past Jimmy Butler. And I also think I'm not going to be shocked if he sits out Tuesday. Not going to be shocked. That's one game if you could get it. You better get that game. Thanks, Alex. Sam Garcia's dad, what's going on, Ray? First quarter was I was saying, how can this be this easy? Yeah. And the answer is it wasn't. The Knicks lost, stating the obvious, but someone needs to make threes. It's just, game like this, we're all looking for things, to harp on and nitpick and get aggrieved over. Make your shots. Make your shots. D. Huber, then. I want to be clear. I love Brunson. My comment is more that our guy got 25 and 7. Sure, but the winning plays weren't there. Lowry made every winning play. That's fair. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, one-on-one in crunch time. But the reason I push back so harshly is because it's a lot easier to be a big-time crunch time player when you are a guy like Kyle Lowry who so little is asked of you throughout most of the game, at least in comparison to Jalen Brunson. And yet you still, because you're Kyle Lowry and you've been to the finals and you've been to the playoffs year after year after year and the whole thing, because you're Kyle Lowry, you have that muscle memory to rely on. Like, in that sense, the Heat, have themselves a really, I don't want to call it a secret weapon or an X factor of their own in Kyle Lowry, but imagine having a situation where, again, you have this guy with this championship pedigree. He's a Hall of Famer. He's not that old. He's not, he's not done. That you kind of could, just pull out as your kind of your closer almost, or your co-closer with Jimmy Butler. And tonight he was the closer. That's a really nice luxury to have that most teams certainly don't have that. And the Heat kind of do, which is, is Kyle Lowry always going to come up big? No, but, certainly did tonight. Ray with another one. Do you want to know one of the many reasons why Sam Garcia's mom is the best? She just told me that she bought us tickets to game 2. Wow, that's awesome. I hope you, A, have fun, and B, see a win. Time to shake this one off, and let's get it Tuesday. Let's freaking go Knicks. There's a tweet from Vork. It did not seem as if the Knicks pressed the issue with Jimmy Butler on defense after he sprained his ankle and stayed in the game, but Eric Spoelstra disagreed with that. Think they were being passive? I did not feel like they were being passive at all. That's not the Knicks. Well, Spoel's going to be kind. He knows better than to poke the bear, whether he agrees or not. But shout out to Sam Garcia's mom. Good job by you. Robert Cross, it's your boy John. We have responded each and every time this year. We'll respond on Tuesday. Knicks in 6, hashtag 53 wins. Again, I said it this morning, and I'll say it again now. Come back, game 5, 2-2. Game 5. So many times these series between these two teams have turned on game 5. I am comfortable right now saying, let this series turn on game 5. Thank you, Robert. Tibbs is not the reason we lost this game. This is also Robert. Brunson was better than IQ and better than RJ. Brunson was better than IQ, who's better than RJ. No. Something about Brunson, quickly, and RJ, lack of precision, execution is. Hashtag 53 wins. All of them lacked precision and execution during key moments. Can we agree with that? This is not a great performance from those guys. Red Sarachek, tough to see Quentin Grimes glued to the bench after being a starter all year. Is that a bananas? Love Weiss and Rosenblum, but would love if they gave us Randle back. We didn't get outplayed. Well, I will push back on that. I think the Knicks did get outplayed. As for Grimes being glued to the bench, I mean, you know, who do you want? So you thought he should have played, I guess, over Obi. Because I'm sorry, but like you're not going to tell me that Brunson or RJ or Hart or a center shouldn't have been out there. So, or for the majority of the game. So it's Obi. Okay, that's fine. I'm fine with that. I agree it's something that they need to look at and reconsider and the whole thing, but like you got size with Obi, which gives you rebounding, which is important against this team. So that's why, like, this is, I mean, look, it's post game after a loss in the playoffs, and you know, this is what we do. So my first rodeo. I get we're always prone to hyperbole, but like, you know, you could say like questionable decision there as opposed to that it's bananas. It's not bananas. There's logic to everything. You live and you learn. You adjust accordingly. You know, you'd like to win the game, but you still got to live and learn. Thanks, Red. Helmer Pacheco with another one. The Jets just signed Kevin Love. Aaron Rodgers will be his backup. Man, Love's been doing this for so long. What a great pickup by them, and what a god-awful move by the freaking Cavs to let him go. How would you like to be a Cavs fan sitting there today watching Love throw those outlet passes? Equals peace. Okay, here we go. Specifics on Tibbs. He should have called a timeout sooner when Love was passing on leakouts to death. Okay. That was during their run. I mean, he eventually called the timeout, I think, after the third one, maybe. That's fair. Should have started Grimes over who? Over Hart? And let Grimes cover Jimmy? I'll agree to disagree there, but that's fine. I also think, again, having the size out there with Obi was certainly defensible, but they lost the game, so it's all fair. And then he had Obi as the only guy hitting threes on the bench in the fourth. Well, again, I that's the biggest pushback that I have here, is the notion that like Obi was nailing threes. I mean, my wife, who is the reason today was kind of hectic in our houses, my wife has strep throat, and I think she's in the back with both of our kids right now. I don't know what the hell she's doing. She's probably passed out. But she was watching the game with me, and she's like, and my wife never comments like this, and she's like, he's shooting so much with Obi, you know, and it was during the stretch where he kept bricking shots. And I was like, yeah, that's what they're giving him. And it didn't work. So, yeah. So I'll push back strongly on that last one. Emil Abumansor, what's going on, Emil? This is a Randle series. It is make or miss league. Randle has made the most threes for the season. He's also our best defensive rebounder. I love that, Emil. It's the point that needs to be made, and while I don't think that like Randle coming back game 2 would guarantee them a win in the series, by no stretch of the imagination do I think that. Like, the Knicks are the Knicks because of Julius Randle, in large part. Not totally, but in large part. And, like, I'm not looking at this Heat team as a 8 seed. I'm looking at them as a team that, like, lollygagged their way around and through the regular season, and then they just beat a 1 seed. You know, if you beat a 1 seed, you beat a 1 seed. So, you're a real team. And hopefully the Knicks knew that coming in. So, John, what's going on? What's going on, John Schmielk? Not fair to kill Tibbs for the offense. They got open looks most of the game. Thank you, John. End of the game was poor. Yes. But would like to see them switch more pick and rolls on defense, make the Heat players, other than Jimmy, win 1-on-1, even on mismatches. Yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting point. in terms of switching, because when you don't switch, that generates the open looks. Like, I guess the reason I'm not focusing too much on their defense, I'm not killing their defense today, is because I do think that they defended well enough to win. And yet, as I say that, like, you, and by the way, you might be right. Like, can the Heat players put the ball on the floor? Yeah, they can. And like, but then the problem there is then if you switch it and then they drive and they get a leg up, then Mitch is the one coming over to help, and then you're in rotation in a different way, and then Bam's coming over for the offensive rebound, and then who's boxing him out, and you're kind of at the mercy of who the low man is at that point, or whoever was like guarding the weak side corner, which is often Brunson. So like all of these different things. Now, obviously, you got to challenge your perimeter defenders. And if the Heat are going to take pull-ups, like, there's ways to do this. There's ways to go about this. But like, I just like watching the Knicks defense today. I just thought they defended well. I just thought they defended well enough to win the game, even giving up 108 points. I thought they defended well enough to win the game. The reason I kind of hedged on that when I started saying it out loud is like, the Heat know how to win a 108-101 game. This is every freaking game that they win is this type of game. So like they're, I mean, occasionally they're going to score a lot of points, but most of the time this is what they score, and that's enough. That's enough for them to win. They know how to win these games. I know their defensive rating was not, I don't know what their defensive rating in the regular season was. It was like, I don't even know if it was in the top 10. It was like maybe borderline top 10, but like, this is where it's one of those things where it's like, I actually think it is valuable to look at the opponent's points per game number as opposed to just the defensive rating number, because the Heat's opponent's points per game number was the second lowest in the league after Cleveland. And like, I think you have to look at that and recognize the fact that because the Heat are so ninth in defensive rating, thank you, GMAC, because the Heat are so comfortable playing in these low-scoring games and having it come down to the last 5 minutes. I said it on in the newsletter, and I think I said it on the pod I did with Jeremy. There have been 40 times this season where the Heat have been involved in a game in which it was a one-score game, one way or another, with a minute or less to go. They live to be in these knockdown, drag-out affairs, and they've done very well in those games. So, like, I could sit here and be like, the defense wasn't the problem. You only gave up 108 points. And at the same time, it's like, give up 108 points to the Heat, you're probably going to lose. Yeah. Anyway, that's that. Alex with another one. The defense was best, and we were coming back with defense was the best, and we were coming back with Quentin Grimes, RJ Hart, IQ, Mitch lineup, and Tibbs yanked Grimes for Brunson, able to switch more with them. I mean, so you're going to leave Brunson on the bench for even longer? I mean, he waited. I thought so to me, that was like one of those things where it's like, wow, Tibbs is riding that group because of defense. He's leaving Brunson on the bench. In the moment, I was like, good job by him reading the situation. But at the end, like, so what was, like, I think you need, I don't know, you need buckets. And look, it didn't work out. So, Alex, you're probably right. I mean, Brunson came back in the game when it was 95-90. He comes back in the game, and then RJ makes both free throws. And then he call timeout after Josh Hart fouled Jimmy Butler. And that was Jimmy Butler just being Jimmy Butler. Drawing, it was the pump fake from the corner, drove baseline, pump faked again, and finally got Josh Hart to bite. Made both of the free throws. Next time down the floor, guess who makes a driving floater? Jalen Brunson. It's a 3-point game again. Are you sure that was the injury, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm positive. Those two free throws that you're referring to is the Jimmy Butler injury.
So when was the So when did he catch him? So was that an earlier possession where
It
he
was
caught?
much earlier. Yeah.
Was it much earlier?
Those 2 free throws were
Either
the
way,
point where he got hurt. Yeah.
Either way, Butler took Hart off the dribble and got Hart on defense.
Mhm.
So it wasn't Brunson being in the game defensively that was the issue then. Then after Brunson hits the floater, 96-94, that's when you mentioned it before, Andrew. Mitchell Robinson got the defensive rebound, good defensive rebound, and then just lost the ball, and it ended up to Gabe Vincent. Now, you want to tell me Brunson isn't in the game, Gabe Vincent doesn't get as clean a look off from three? I think Brunson was the defender on that possession. That's okay.
He was,
maybe.
But he also actually thought Brunson fought through a screen and avoided fouling Vincent, who was looking for a 4-point play. He just made a tough shot.
It was a great basket. It was a great basket. And then coming back down, Lowry blocks Brunson, and then some chicanery ensues. The next possession is when Martin blocked Barrett, which was there's lots of chicanery, and then Lowry to Bam, and then it's an 8-point game. Like I don't know, were the Heat getting a lot down the stretch? Kyle Lowry, tough 10-footer. Then they didn't score until there were 43 seconds left. I mean, Jesus Christ, the Heat went. This is actually the Heat went over a minute without scoring, or over 2 minutes without scoring. This was a 104-94 game. The two bad. So again, if you chalk up the Gabe Vincent 3 to kind of a freak play where Mitch gets stripped, and then it goes back out to Vincent, and that was a good contest. That was with 4:24 to go. That made it 100-94. And then at that point, Lowry gets to the free throw line with 43 seconds to go. So that is a almost 4-minute span of time, at which point there were 2 baskets made by the Miami Heat. Lowry to Bam, which was a brilliant pick and roll. That was run, and you want to tell me that involved Brunson, and then the Lowry 10-footer, which was I thought it was a good contest by Brunson. So those are 2 baskets. Even if Brunson was the reason why those 2 baskets happened in that 4-minute stretch, if you're in your home court and you hold the opposing team to 2 baskets over a 4-minute stretch, you got to be able to score there. And the move didn't work out because they weren't able to generate offense with Brunson. But I thought the decision-making was sound at the time to bring him back in, and I think in retrospect, bringing Brunson in, like, on the defensive side of the ball was not the reason that they lost. It was because their offense completely fumbled away, any semblance of coherence in those last 5 minutes. That's the bigger thing for me. Parrish Duggar, lack of third quarter focus and energy, low IQ game. I don't know if you mean low IQ game like the team as a whole showed low IQ, or if you mean low IQ as in Emmanuel Quickly. Either way, you're right. Yeah, that's that. Okay, that's it. We seem to have shortened up our 5-hour marathon from the previous time, unsurprisingly. Appreciate everybody tuning in and sticking with us here all the way through, even with a just not very fun loss. No losses are ever fun, but some losses you tip your cap and you're like, you know what? Great effort today. Got beat. The whole thing. This one, I mean, you want to say it stings. You want to say it's annoying. It's frustrating. All of the things. Any word you want to use, you're right. Because this one was not fun. But we appreciate everybody coming. Don't forget, if you dig the show, obviously leave a 5-star rating and drop a review, of course. And we will be back with more fun and games. We got, obviously another show dropping tomorrow. And we'll be back with more Game 2 coverage before you know it. Hopefully covering a win.